Okay, so for example, when it's saying what is the range of the function, I crossed off choice 1 and 2 because we should know that the range is our y values. So that leaves us to choice 3 and 4. And remember our y values, we want the lowest to the highest point. So we're going to scan our pencil starting from the bottom all the way until we reach the lowest point of our graph. And where it's hitting the y-axis, because we want the y coordinate, is at a positive 2. So that leaves us between 3 and 4. And it is a closed circle. So that means we're going to pick the inequality that says greater than or equal to, the one with the line underneath it. For 2, we're talking about the domain being the weight in ounces. So when you think about putting a bowl of frozen yogurt, or in this case, acai bowl, on top of the scale, we shouldn't have negative numbers. So we're going to cross off 1 and 2. And now we're looking at non-negative integers and non-negative rational numbers. So for here, we want to think about weight in ounces. When we put that on the scale, we have 3.5 ounces or 10.67 ounces. We can have a fraction or a decimal, so we want non-negative rational numbers. For 3, the key word here is domain, which is our x values. And we know the equation, or in this case, the function is 3x plus 6. If we have an equation and we want parts of a point, like the x or the y, since we already have the x, what we're going to do is plug it into the calculator using the y equals button. So for here, I'm just going to move the screen. We're going to hit y equals, and then we're typing in 3x plus 6. 3x plus 6, second graph. They told us the x values are negative 2, 0, and 3. So when x is negative 2, my y value is 0. When x is 0, my y value is a 6. Oops. And lastly, when x is 3, my y value is 15. So the range for this problem is 0, 6, and 15. For 4, it's saying the fifth term of an arithmetic sequence is 4. So the fifth term is 4. The seventh term is 12. When I see the word arithmetic, I'm thinking linear function. So since I'm trying to come up with the equation of a line, I'm going to use my calculator, the stat edit sequence. So I'm just going to set up the problem a of n. And we know stat edit enter. I want to clear my list. My L1 is my term number, so 5 and 7. 5, enter, 7, enter. My L2 is the y values that match up. So my fifth term is 4. My seventh term is 12. Once I set the calculator, I'm going to hit stat, over to calc, choice 4 for linear regression. From here, I'm just going to hit enter until I get my equation. So that's what I see. Whoops. That's what I see in the calculator. So from here, my a term or my slope is 4n minus 16. For 5, we have Sarah has a gift card to Soul Bowl worth $75. After she purchases her first bowl, the card's value is $67.45. After the second, it's $59.90. After the third, it's $52.35. What we want to do is, assuming that the pattern continues, write an equation to define S of n, the total amount of money on the gift card after n purchases. So make sure we're using S of n and n in our equation. So I'm just going to set up S of n equals. From here, what I want to do is set up a table of values so that I could use my calculator to come up with the equation. So my first bowl, I have $67.45 left. After the second purchase, we have $59.90 left. And after the third, $52.35. From here, I'm just going to use that same sequence that we just did in the calculator with my stat buttons. So stat, edit. I want to clear out my list. I know my first purchase, second purchase, third purchase. After the first purchase, my Sarah's card has $67.45. The second, $59.90. And then the third, $52.35. So once I set the calculator, from here I want to hit Stat, Calc, Choice 4, Enter, 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 Enter. So right here are the numbers that I'm using for the equation. So, a term. Instead of using an x, I need to use n plus 75. The next part is saying she wants to buy a bowl every single Friday after school, but we need to figure out how many weeks in a row she can afford to buy it only using her gift card. So we're really looking for an n value, which is our x value. And we only want to use the gift card. So for here, I personally think it might be best if we use the calculator. So we have an equation, and the equation was negative 7.55x plus 75. So the table's telling me my purchase is x and y is how much money is left on the card. So if I keep scrolling down, you should notice that at 9 weeks, we still have $7.05 on. But when I go to the 10th week, Sarah has a negative 0.5 on the right. That means the 10th week, she can't use the gift card only. She's actually going to have to contribute 50 cents in addition to whatever was left over on the card. So since the problem said only at week 9, only using her card, our answer is going to be week 9. And to save time, I'm not going to write out the explanation, but remember when you see the word explain, you must write out. All right, so for question 6, it's saying write an equation of a line that passes through the point 3, 8 and negative 1, negative 4. So for here, you want an equation, so this is when you're using that stat, edit, stat, calc 4 on your calculator. So L1 is your x values, L2 is your y values. You're typing in 3 and negative 1 for L1, 8 and negative 4 for L2. When you hit stat calc 4 and enter a few times, you're going to get the equation y equals 3x minus 1. For 7, it's telling you there is a function in the table, and we know that it is a function because the x values are not repeating. Negative 8, negative 4, 0, and 3 do not repeat. Again, I don't really care about the y values in this case. So the question goes on to say, if included in the table, which ordered pair 0, 5, or 5, 0 would result in a relation that is no longer a function? So now we want to take it from a function to not a function. So that means we must make the x values repeat in order to make it not a function. So if we add in the point 0, 5, we will no longer make it a function because the x values will now repeat. There will be 2 x equals 0s. For number 8, it's saying if s of t equals t minus 2 squared minus 2t. Remember, if we have an equation, we're using the y equals button. I know that you're not used to typing in t's and other variables, so we're just going to use an x in this case. So y equals, we're going to type it in exactly how we see it. x minus 2 squared minus 2x. We're pulling up the table. Remember, this means when x equals negative 2. So we're going to scroll up to x equals negative 2. Our y value is 20. So the point is negative 220 that would lie on that graph. When s is 3, my y value is negative 5. When s is 5, my y value is negative 1. Number 9, they want you to graph the equation 3y minus 3x equals 9. We need it in slope-intercept form. So we're going to add over the 3x. 3y equals 3x plus 9. We need to divide by 3 to isolate my y. Y is equal to x plus 3. The 3 tells me where to begin on the y-axis. So I'm going to start at 3. 1, 2, 3. Put a dot. From there, I am going imaginary 1 in front over 1. Up 1, right 1. So up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. Then I could go down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. I must connect them to form a line and put arrows on the end. I'm just going to write the original equation. The second part is saying, is 0, 3 a solution to the equation? So 0, 3, I'm going over 0 up 3. So we should notice that 0, 3 lies on the line. So if it lies on the line, it is a solution. And justify you can show by substituting in your x and your y value, or you could say yes, because 0, 3 is on the line. Number 10, if a, negative 6 is a point on the graph of the equation negative 10x plus 2y equals negative 2, what is the value of a? So we have an equation, we're looking for a point. So if we have the equation, we're going to use our y equals button. First, we need to rearrange it. Add 10x, add 10x. 2y equals 10x minus 2. Divide by 2. And our equation is y equals 5x minus 1. From here, we're going to type that into the calculator. Y equals 5x minus 1. From here, second table. Let's look at what we know. We know the y coordinate is negative 6. So I'm going to look in my y column for a negative 6. When y is negative 6, my x value was a negative 1. So negative 1, negative 6 is a point on that line. Therefore, a is negative 1. And lastly, given the sequence a of n equals 4n minus 15, we want to find a of 10. A of 10 is just saying take n and replace it with a 10. So for here, what we're going to do is every time I see an n, replace it with a 10. So we're doing 40 minus 15, and a of 10 is 25. All right, good luck tomorrow, guys. See ya.